All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're heading back in time to the grim, muddy front lines of World War I to really unpack the realities of trench warfare. We're going to break down exactly what happened when the greatest armies in the world literally dug themselves into the earth and in the process changed the face of combat forever.
So take a look at this concept here, الانفراج العسكرية, basically military stalemate, or a war of attrition. You know, this one single idea completely defined the devastating years spent on the Western Front. As our source material highlights, a state of prolonged deadlock meant thousands upon thousands of lives were lost in utterly futile combat, without either side gaining a decisive edge or, honestly, even an inch of ground.
Section 1. What exactly is trench warfare?
You might be wondering, why dig in the first place? Well, these trenches were initially designed as a survival tactic, a vital way to hide from the insane barrage of modern heavy artillery and rapid small arms fire. But by digging so deep into the earth for shelter, these armies inadvertently locked themselves in place. It created this massive, unmoving siege that dragged on for years.
Moving on to Section 2, Trench Weapons and Technologies.
Now, crossing the infamous no man's land? Absolutely impossible. You've got light machine guns just laying down a massive curtain of lead, paired up with highly accurate snipers perfectly hidden in the dirt. Literally, just one single machine gun crew or one well-placed sniper could pin down an entire battalion. It turned the open space between the trenches into a total death trap.
And because troops were so well protected from bullets underground, things evolved into an even more visceral nightmare. Enter poison gas. The whole point of chemical warfare was to flush men out of their defensive holes. Since the gas was heavier than air, it naturally sank right into the lowest parts of the trenches, the exact places meant to keep soldiers safe. So you either had to climb out into the line of fire, or, tragically, suffocate right where you stood.
The technology just kept getting more and more brutal. Generals were constantly trying to solve the puzzle of deeply entrenched defenders. So they introduced the flamethrower. I mean, think about it. A terrifying new tool designed to shoot a stream of burning fuel right around the tight, zigzagging corners of a trench. It just neutralized absolutely everything in its path.
To finally break the deadlock and cross the wire without getting completely cut down, we see the introduction of massive armored tanks. These slow, clunky mechanical beasts could actually absorb machine gun fire and just roll right over the trenches. And right at the same time, early aviation takes off. Suddenly, there's a whole new dimension of reconnaissance and threats falling from the sky. The battlefield was literally becoming fully mechanized right before their eyes.
But down on the ground, still a complete nightmare. The surface was covered in impenetrable tangles of barbed wire. Because charging over the top was essentially suicidal, soldiers had to go underneath. This sparked some seriously claustrophobic mining operations. Sappers would dig these narrow tunnels in pitch-black darkness directly under enemy lines, just to plant massive explosive charges.
Which brings us to Section 3, Life and Diseases in the Trenches.
So, while dodging bullets, chemical gas, and artillery shells, the troops actually faced a completely hidden enemy, one that caused staggering numbers of casualties without a single shot ever being fired. Any guesses?
Yep, it was the biological threat. We're talking about rotting trench foot from standing for weeks in freezing, waterlogged mud. We're talking severe infectious fevers, horrific dental infections they called trench mouth, and deadly dysentery. The utter lack of basic sanitation meant that just existing in the trench, just breathing and standing there, was a daily, grueling fight for biological survival.
Day-to-day survival meant trying to get your hands on severely rationed, often freezing cold food, and relying on incredibly rudimentary steel helmets and clunky body armor. That became the sole focus for millions of men. They were totally trapped, enduring a psychological and physical siege that absolutely tested the very limits of human endurance.
Let's look at Section 4, Defense and Attack Tactics.
To try and break this immovable, disease-ridden deadlock, both the Germans and the British were forced to totally rewrite the playbook. They had to invent entirely new tactical doctrines just to move the front line a few measly feet. Instead of lining men up shoulder to shoulder, they developed specialized stormtrooper units, crazy intricate artillery schedules, and brand new ways to coordinate defense in depth. And finally, Section 5, breaching enemy trenches.
According to the military doctrines documented in our source material, surviving the stalemate and actually breaching an enemy trench boiled down to just 3 absolutely crucial things. But the historical record here leaves us hanging right on that cliffhanger. So let me throw this back to you. Based on the incredible defense networks, those devastating weapons, and the horrific conditions we've just explored in this explainer, if you were standing there, staring across the mud of no man's land, what 3 things do you think you would need to finally break the unbreakable?